Hello, welcome back to the grimdark of the 41st millennium with issue 1 of Warhammer 40k Imperium. You can ignore the glare in a minute, it will go as soon as I take the cellophane off. So I don't live in anywhere where the trial is currently ongoing, so I had to pay a scalper's ransom to be able to get this copy, but I do want to say a huge thank you to George Bowyer. He's one of my subscribers who had offered to get me a copy as well and send it down at no extra cost. So thank you, George. It's really, really appreciated. But let's get into this issue number 1. So been very, very excited about this. For anyone who hasn't watched my channel before, I review all of the Hachette Partworks magazines. So I reviewed every issue of 40k Conquest. I am more or less up to date with every issue of Mortal Realms, and I'll be doing exactly the same for Imperium. So obviously we can get what we know we've got this week. We've got the Warden and Lieutenant. We'll have a quick look on this piece of cardboard before we remove it. Obviously this tells us more about the range. Anyone who's collected any of these types of things in the past will know it's got the different sections within the magazines, which we split up and put into ring binders and that kind of thing. And we get an early preview for issue number 2. We've got 3 Necron Warriors and a base paint, Rune Lord Brass, which is actually a new base paint. It only came out recently, or it came out at the same time as Indomitus did. So let's get into this and have a look. Okay, so what have we got? We have got 2 bases, 2 small sprues and some dice. We'll build these in a second. We've got a range ruler. We've got a poster. Which has got lots of stuff about the actual range itself. There's a collection in all its glory. Now, I've listed and priced all of this in another one of my videos, so go and search that out if you are interested. Here is the first indication of all the different paints that we're getting. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 31 paints. We'll also get some brushes as well, which aren't part of the online subscription. So these will come in the issues and nothing to do with the free gifts from the subscription. So that's good. I might come back to this in a later video and list what we've got here. What I can see we've got here though is this luminous paint in the background. So that is Tesseract Glow. It's worth mentioning just because it is one of the new technical paints that came out a few months ago. What else have we got? Just general stuff there. This is a big old poster. More general stuff. This is just a breakdown of everything that's in the first magazine. Then it's got a list of the subscriber gifts here. I noticed that it doesn't include there any of the premium content subscriber gifts, and it doesn't mention it here at all actually. So on this poster you've got everything except for premium subscription gifts, and then we get a gigantic poster, Imperium poster. This will be, you know, this is very common. It is the front cover of the Imperium box. Okay, so what else do we have? We have a pullout. So this is similar to Mortal Realms in that they've got some parts of these issues are pullouts which go into the binder like this. This goes into a bit more information about all of our different units and that kind of thing that we'll be seeing. Some story stuff, Invasion of Ramazas. What I'll do is I'll come back to this at the end and go into it in further detail. So I'll get through the kind of what's in here first, we've got a small battle mat, double-sided. These are for cutting out, for objectives and that kind of thing. Very, very nice actually. I can feel in the magazine itself, we have, right, okay. So here is something to fill out so as we can give it to our newsagents so we can subscribe. And here is more information, but this does include our premium subscriber stuff. Now, in the next day or so, I'll be releasing a separate video which is going to go through all of this content. So as part of the Q&A, I will go through the cost breakdown for all the premium stuff. I'll go through all of the points values for everything that's within Imperium. So for example, I'll break all these down by points value, see if you've got enough for a combat patrol and that kind of thing. I'll also do the same for the Space Marines, the Necrons, the Sisters of Battle, and the AdMech stuff. So there we go, we get some binders. These look nice actually. Modelling kit that will come in, if you subscribe, that will come in the first pack. Paints, paint brushes, the new style of Citadel paint handle, and a set of art prints. Okay, cool. Right, let's go through the magazine itself. Then what we'll do is we will assemble these and we'll go through and we'll play the playthrough that we've got as well. So there's quite a big glare on this, so I'm just gonna turn the flash off. That's better. Okay, so what have we got? Introducing the Space Marines, discover the deadly Necrons, and learn to play your first game. In this issue, if you're new to Warhammer 40,000, then this is the magazine for you. Warhammer 40,000 is a hobby all about collecting and painting incredible miniatures and taking them to war in games on the tabletop. Imperium will teach you how. Get ready to take your first step into the battlefields of the 41st millennium. Happy hobbying. So we're going to learn about our two units, our two models, the Lieutenant, the Primaris Lieutenant and the Royal Warden. We're going to have a history lesson about Space Marines and Necrons, and we're going to talk about the War for Rasmus, which is this pull-out. Then we'll have our building guide, which is for our models. There is a painting guide. Now, there's no paints in this set, but there will be as we go forward. So we've got some early paint stuff here. This might just be a general paint thing about miniature painting and that kind of thing. And then we've got playthrough number 1, a game unlike any other. Okay, so Space Marine Lieutenants are key members of each chapter's command structure. Each lieutenant, or lieutenant, I always get it wrong, is an expert tactician and strategist, as well as an experienced and skilled warrior. They can be found wherever the fighting is thickest, bellowing orders and directing the fire of their battle brothers. So it's got a breakdown of all the war gear that's on our model. So he's got a Neo-Volkite pistol. It explains the helmet markings. The colours and markings on a helmet often show Space Marine's rank. The Storm Shield, the Mastercrafted Power Sword, and then it's got a bit about personal heraldry and purity seals. Okay, it's got a little bit of information here about Blade Guard veterans. The Lieutenant's Mastercrafted weapons, heraldry and Storm Shield show that he once served as a Blade Guard veteran, an elite unit of Space Marines. And then we've got a little quote here from Lucian Calcius. Now, Lieutenant Calcius was an exclusive model to the Warhammer Conquest range. So it's interesting that they would have him here. There will be an exclusive to this range, which will come in issue 5. I'll go into that more in the Q&A video, which I'll have up probably about a day after this one. How dare the Necron filth despoil the Emperor's realm with their foul presence? Intercessors, fire at will. Assault intercessors, strike their left flank. Blade Guard veterans on me. Let us break their lines and crush them to dust. Courage and honour, brothers, for Guilliman and Macragge. And then this is, it's quite interesting, battle record. Below are spaces to write down information about your Primaris Lieutenant. Okay, so that's quite cool. We can build up our information. Now this is all information that's very interesting for Crusade games. So none of this was available in Conquest. But the 40k Crusade system, you know, for that you need to record a lot of the information there. So that is interesting. Next up, we've got the Royal Warden. Royal Wardens are Necron nobles who act as battlefield commanders. Though they are utterly loyal to their superiors, they have independent thought and are capable of adjusting the strategy of their warriors to ensure victory. And it does the same thing here. It goes through some of their different parts of them. So these things sticking up the back are command nodules. A little bit about living metal. So similar to the Space Marine, it goes through all their individual parts. So we've got a Riddick Gauze Blaster there as well. So yeah, very cool. And I'm assuming we've got a battle record for the Royal Warden as well. Very cool. Now we've got a little bit of education on the Space Marines themselves. The Adeptus Astartes, known by most as the Space Marines, are one of mankind's most powerful fighting forces. They have defended the Imperium with courage and honour for thousands of years, inflicting terrible defeats upon humanity's many foes. A little bit about chapters. So the different colours relate to different chapters that you can set your forces up as. Notably here they've got Silver Templars, which is what Warhammer Conquest is all about. So that's very cool. Then we've got a little bit about the Necrons. For 60 million years, the Necrons have slumbered. As they have lain dormant, the stars have moved through the heavens and countless empires have risen and fallen to ruin. Now the Necron race stirs from its long sleep, intent on reclaiming the galaxy and eradicating all those who stand before them. Grim. Again, more information here about that. Okay, so let's build some models. Okay. Let's test these dice first, see if they're any good. Nah, not too good. No, not too bad actually. A 4, a 5 and a 6. A 2. Can we reroll ones? Nah, not much better. Right, dice gods are not shining upon us. Right, so let's have a look at our lieutenant first. So for everyone who was expecting to get the terrific value that they saw in Mortal Realms issue 1, some people were a little bit disappointed by the showing offered for issue 1 of Imperium. And there's a good reason for it. I mean, blimey, you just need to go on eBay, in the UK at least, and look to see the cost that the things like chain rasps are going for. So that's like a 20 odd quid kit. But if you go on eBay these days, you can see it on there for maybe £3. Same with the Sequitors. It comes with 3 Sequitors. They're going for a couple of pounds as well. So I have no doubt whatsoever that after issue 1 of Mortal Realms was released, probably Games Workshop and most of the retailers in the UK probably haven't sold easy build Sequitors or chain rasps since, just because they're so cheap on eBay. But like I say, I imagine that there'll be plenty of these kits getting picked up as soon as it comes out properly. Now these are push fit, but I always apply a little bit of glue as well, just to be sure. Now that comes with this kit, there's a little Necron head. which you can attach to the base. Now, I'm not going to do that just because as much as I like the idea of them applying a little bit of stuff to the base to make it a little bit more interesting, I personally, I don't like putting parts on the bases which are bespoke to another faction, just because it's great if I'm playing against Necrons, if I'm playing against, you know, Nurgle or something like that. It just seems weird that there would be a Necron skull lying around. Okay, so that is the Primaris Lieutenant. It is a really awesome model. I'm a big fan. So that's that. So let's build the Royal Warden. Okay, so there's our Royal Warden as well. I have to admit, I didn't enjoy putting them together. A little bit fiddly for me. Probably, you know, we all get these little problems when we're assembling sometimes, but there you go. So that is our two models. So then we move on to the painting section, how to paint Citadel miniatures. This gives us a brief rundown of the things that we're going to be doing. Now, one thing I will say is if you are going to collect these and you're going to paint them, I would suggest that you invest in some spray primer, specifically anything that isn't oil-based. And the reason for that is the paint will stick to the miniatures much easier and they'll be less likely to chip off. They chip off easily at the best of times. If you don't use primer, it's going to be a nightmare. You can obviously buy the Games Workshop stuff, the Citadel paints primer and that kind of thing. But for me, I just use primer, either the spray cans, the spray primers you can get from Halfords because they're pretty cheap, or if you've got an airbrush, just some of maybe the Vallejo primer. It's much cheaper to do it that way as well. It also gives us an indication of the different types of paints. So we've got base paints, shade paints, layer paints, and technical paints. And we'll learn about them all as we go through these magazines. Now, the game itself. Warhammer 40,000 is a tabletop war game that allows you to take command of an army of Citadel miniatures to do battle against your friends. Even a small game of Warhammer 40,000 is full of excitement and explosive action as rival commanders pit their wits against each other. So we've got the tools of war. So we've got our magazine. We've got our models. We've got our battle mat. We've got our range ruler. We've got our dice. We've got our wound markers, which are on here, but I'm not going to cut these out today. And we've got our objective markers, which I'm not going to cut out either, because I'm going to be sending them on to someone else. So, first contact. The Ramesses system is at war. On the surface of the industrial moon Megaria, a small force of Ultramarines have arrived to battle an invading army of soulless robotic Necrons. Okay, so the mission briefings are: on the Necron repair station's obsidian depths, row upon row of silent Necrons wait to be revived and sent back into the fight. A small force of Space Marines have fought their way into the facility, intent on destroying it. So we've got two opposing objectives here. So we've got Restored Dominance for the Royal Warden, and we've got Hawk the Awakening for the Primaris Lieutenant. Unfold your battle mat. Unfold your battle mat and carefully cut out the objective and wound markers, which I'm not doing. However, we can see that we've got three objectives. We're going to go A, C, and E. Using the placement key, set up the Royal Warden and Primaris Lieutenant and the objective markers on the mat. So we're going to use A, C, and E as objectives. Now there's a very small data sheet here, so we can see that our Primaris Lieutenant moves 6 inches, a ballistic skill of 2 up. That means that they need to roll a dice, and to be successful it has to be over a 2. Got 5 wounds, and it saves on a 3 up. So if it if it's going to take a wound, if you roll a dice, if it's more than a 3, which that isn't, if it's a 3 or more, you will not take that wound. If it's any less, then you will. Then it's got the weapon, so the Neo-Volkite pistol, you roll 2 dice for that. Our Royal Warden is exactly the same, except he's got different stats. So he's got less wounds, he's got a smaller move, he's got a worse ballistic skill, but his save is the same. So really, between the two, we can tell that the Primaris Lieutenant has got quite an advantage. The Relic Gauze Blaster also has 2 dice. Then it's got about movement, checking dice scores and that sort of thing, which we'll get onto in a minute. And what we'll do is we'll use our spare dice to check the wounds. So Primaris Lieutenant has got 5 wounds, so we'll leave that there. And the Royal Warden has got 4. Okay, so in this scenario, the Necrons go first. So move. The Royal Warden wants to activate the repair nodes, which are going to be these 3 objectives. And it's telling us to move to the closest objective. The Royal Warden has got a movement of 5 inches. So we go base to base. So we can take our movement, we go from the very edge of the base and we move 5 inches. Now that leaves us a little bit short of securing the objective. He also gets to shoot. So he fires the Relic Gauze Blaster, which is 2 dice. And he's got a ballistic skill of a 3 up. So we roll 2 dice and they both score more than 3. So now that we know that these 2 dice have hit, our lieutenant gets to try and save that. So he saves on a 3 up. So what he gets to do is he gets to roll 2 dice because there was 2 successful hits. And if he rolls on a 3 or more, he gets to save those wounds. And he does, he saves them both. So that's good. Now, if he did take any wounds, so let's say that was a 1, he would lose a wound. So we'd move this down from 5 to 4. Now, obviously, if you cut out all of these from the game board, you'll be able to use them to track the wounds instead. Now, usually, as you get into 40k, usually you wouldn't be using these wound markers very much. You would generally just use dice to do that, or at least that's what I do. Now, I'm just going to skip ahead here. Basically, what happened was a whole bunch of shots were traded between the Royal Warden and the Lieutenant. Due to some amazing rolls, there was no wounds taken, so it actually took a whole lot longer than it was supposed to. But needless to say, we went along, we played a bit more, the Royal Warden moved on to the objective, and then we get to the end of turn 2. It's also worth explaining that the reason I didn't move the Lieutenant even closer to the Royal Warden is because in issue 1, we don't learn any rules for melee and that kind of thing. So insofar as the early training for 40k is in this book, it doesn't include everything. It's very, very low level to start with. So it doesn't even include the melee fighting. So everything from this mini battle report only includes ranged combat. Now, that is the end of turn 2. And because the Royal Warden is on this objective, he gets a chance to try and activate the repair nodes. Now, according to the mission guide on here, he rolls 1 dice. On a 5 up, he successfully activates the repair nodes. And he wins. So he failed there. On a 1, 2, 3 or 4, the station is broken and the Royal Warden will have to try again in another turn. Remove this objective marker from the battle map. So on this one, this objective is no longer available. It's broken. Okay, so let's start another turn. Just to summarise the next turn, so basically the Royal Warden is moving towards that next objective. He trades shots with the Lieutenant as well. He takes another 2 turns to get onto the objectives, and then this happens. Okay, Royal Warden is on the objective, so he needs a 5 up to win the game, and he does. So with that 5, he repairs the node and wins this scenario. So that is the very first kind of introduction to combat. It's very simple now, and it will get more complex as we carry forward. But for now, we're starting very, very light. So let's have a quick look at the war for Ramesses. The Ramesses system lies in the Pariah Nexus, a region of space that has been transformed into a war zone. Here, the forces of the Imperium clash with relentless legions of ancient Necrons in an apocalyptic conflict. And then we get more information on the region. So these marks here, when we get our ring binders and that kind of thing, we'll use this information to know where to separate the issues into, so as it ends up with one large cohesive tome. So again, we've got some more lore things. We've got a Judicia here, which I don't believe we receive in the range, but I'm pretty sure we don't get a Judicia. So this is, so we don't get all of this actually. Interesting. There's a lieutenant. But yeah, so very cool stuff here. And again, on this side, we've got a little bit more information about the Ultramarines, the Imperial Task Force, and then a little bit more information about the Necrons in general in the invasion of Ramesses. So when this starts properly, I'll be doing weekly videos and I will review every single issue. Now, we're on a trial, so at the moment, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do these, but I will say that if there's any subscribers out there in the UK that do manage to get these copies, I will very, very happily buy copies off of you. If they're available in your area and you don't mind picking me up a copy, drop me an email to mike@foible.co.uk. That's in the description. If you could send me these issues, I'd really appreciate it, because it would be nice to keep up with the trial. But if I'm not able to do that, I'll obviously keep going no matter what throughout the range. So issue 2, we've got 3 Necron Warriors and the Runelord brass paint and a paintbrush. So this is basically a little sprue that comes in a small paint guide. Exactly the same with these intercessors. This comes in a small paint guide, but there's no paintbrush. So that's issues 2 and 3. Issue 4 though, which is a really good one. You can see in the background here, we get some Scorpec Destroyers. If you want to buy them, they're about 23, 24 quid retail price. So that is an excellent saving for issue 4. But if you want to keep up with my coverage for Warhammer Imperium, drop a subscribe, and when we get into it properly, I will obviously keep everyone up to date. So going back to another video I'll be doing soon, that will be the Imperium Q&A. So I've sourced most of the questions that I can find in Facebook groups, and I've got a few subscribers that have sent some questions over to me. I'll be answering them all in one video, and we'll be going through, what do I think of the range in total, what are the points cost for all these guys, what do I think of the premium content, because I know that some people aren't particularly happy with it. I'll give my views on that. When do I think this stuff is going to be available in the EU? Will it be available in the EU? All those kind of things. I'll come back to that stuff very, very soon. In fact, I'll be recording that as soon as I've uploaded this video. So expect that sooner rather than later. But thank you so much for watching, guys. Much appreciated. I will catch you later.